Yes.
And we're going to talk about how to successfully transition your business. And I'm going to be telling you kind of a little bit about my story. But, you know, this will be helpful for you if you're someone that is already working in a full-time job or already have a career and you want to slowly transition out. You know, the Almost 30 girls talked about how awesome it was to have something going already, so it didn't put a lot of pressure on it, but then also successfully kind of transitioning over into this side hustle, this social media side hustle. So I'm going to start real quickly with my story. So I'm actually one of 10 kids, and I actually have a picture here. One of 10 kids, and you can see a picture. My family's probably watching, so this is a shout out to the fam. But this is me right here. But I'm one of 10 kids and just had an awesome just upbringing, and you know, kind of I was able to see kind of what everybody was working on as I was growing up. But you know, long story short, my grandfather was a doctor. I was an MD, and I always wanted to become a doctor. And it was kind of like, you know, it was just kind of the next thing. I was just like, you know, I'm going to get through, and I'm going to become a doctor. And the truth is like when I was in high school, I just really wasn't an A student. I was kind of like middle of the pack of the class. I was a hard worker, as my mom, if she's watching, she can attest to that. Shout out to mom if she's watching. I was a hard worker, but just sitting in a class like bothered me. Like sitting for long periods of time. I don't know if this is you, but like I was like, maybe I had a little bit of ADHD. Never was given any meds for it, but was just had a hard time focusing. But I stuck with it. Ended up making it through high school. In undergrad, I studied biochemistry. And really had a hard time like sitting down and focusing it, but I was driven. My dad taught me to be determined, and so I was determined to get through it. Applied and got accepted to grad school, and then so I did 4 years of biochem, got accepted to grad school, did another 4 years of grad school, and actually while I was in grad school, to make some side hustle cash, I started to do like graphics and a little bit of marketing for different health businesses, and that kind of, you know, I slowly started to kind of create and build like this skill set of working on my computer. You know, while I was an undergrad, I was a DJ, and you know, I was always looking for kind of side hustle income, but I was still committed to getting through school. But that was kind of my first experience with this whole digital marketing side hustle space. So it kind of started to spark my interest, and I was really learning while I was learning to become a really good doctor. I was also learning to become a really good social media person. But then one point, I would say probably in the middle of my second year, I had like failed 2 classes, and I was just like, is this worth it? And I remember thinking like, should I just quit now? Because this other little side business was kind of going pretty well. But I was committed to completing the task. Again, my dad always taught me, be determined and complete the task at hand. And I think that that's so important as we're talking about this Side Hustle Social Summit, is be consistent. And part of being consistent is being committed to what you've committed to. And I committed to spending $300,000 to get a doctor in front of my name. And so anyways, long story short, I graduated, I started practice, and I also was running my, my little digital agency on the side, which is doing actually really well. And I also was like, hey, I'm not going to give up on something I spent $300,000 for. But after a while, you know, I was in practice, I was seeing patients. I love seeing people get well. Like I love seeing people get well. And maybe this is you. Maybe you're working in a job where actually you like the result that you bring to people. It's just a complete drag, right? And I hate to say it, but like being in practice, just the physical being in practice, being on call was just draining me. And it was because I was stuck in this structure where I had to do these things. I had to be at this place at a certain time. And it just started to drain me. And, you know, the question that Lacey had asked about, you know, hadn't experienced a lot, that was me before college. I hadn't experienced all these other things that were available to me of what I could do, that I kind of just went with what I was told, you know, like, and I went with kind of that first initial dream, and I kind of just went right into it. But I really hadn't experienced other industries before college. And then, if you know anything about going through med school, it's head down. You know, I studied biochemistry. I was not the dude that was going to parties. I was in the library studying all the time. I didn't get to experience other industries before college, but through college and through that experience, as I mentioned, I was able to start that agency. And long story short, I slowed down in practicing. I still practice about 1 day a week, but the rest of the time I run, Side Hustle Social. I have some other companies if you want to check me out at meetwithdrdave.com, meetwithdrdave.com. That gives you an idea of kind of what I do. But I work with enterprise companies on big strategies for companies to help them grow and build revenue. And a lot of those strategies that I've used is what I've been using with Sean and Andrew, and with what we teach inside Hustle Social. And so one of the things I had to realize, and if you're watching this and you're kind of feel like maybe you weren't maybe you're not a doctor, maybe you're in a career that you're not really, you're maybe like the result of it. Maybe you don't like the result, but maybe you like the result of what you get for people, but it's kind of a draining. I had to realize it's okay not to be a practicing doctor. I had to realize that every single time, every 5 times a day, people ask me, "Oh, so where do you practice?" Or are you upset that you gave up, all of your learning from school to do what you do now? And the truth is, I can say from the bottom of my heart, yes. And the other truth is, I can say is it's 0% about the money. And I'm not going to go through what I made from being a doctor in this, but the truth is like I had to be okay with being myself, being my authentic self, and not worrying about what other people think. Or we're not worrying about what my boss thinks, or what a sibling thinks, or what a parent thinks. And even my parents, my family, which is it's fair for them. I just gone through school, spent all this money, and then I was like, hey, I'm actually running these 2 different agencies now, and I'm only practicing 1 day a week. And I had to kind of prove to them that and it wasn't even a proving thing. It was just like, I know what my calling is, I know what my mission is, but I had to be okay with it. So that's kind of like the first step of like realizing it is this something that like you don't wake up in the morning and you're like, I can't wait to go to work. Like what I do now, I can't sleep because I wake up and I'm so excited to do it because it's right in line with what my gifts and talents are. But then also the result, like what I'm able to do for people, like just being online and there's thousands of you watching right now and being able to teach you, like that's what I love to do, right? But it didn't start here. We didn't have the studio here. It started with Andrew and I meeting up and talking about, hey, we want to help people, and we created and then it turned into this, and I'll talk about how to take that kind of dream and turn it into something. And so the next thing I want to talk about is the things like kind of what made me decide to do what I do now. Like, okay, you were a doctor, you were doing some of this stuff, but like, how did you get to this point? And the truth is that I had learned a lot of different skill sets, right? And I think this is something that people run into. This is kind of step 1 of my action step, but is that they live. Say you're 30 years old. You've lived over the last 15 years. You've learned different skill sets, whether it's through interactions with friends, whether maybe it's a sport, maybe it's through you worked for a company and you were really good with accounting, or you're really good with taking notes, or you're really detail oriented. You've learned specific skill sets over the last X amount of years. Maybe you're 20 and you've learned skill sets over the last 3 or 4 years. And so whenever you're deciding on your new kind of side hustle, or maybe you're thinking about a topic, you want to be creative on a topic, think about what skill sets you have. And a really easy way to think about it is that what do you feel like you're good at? Like, what do you feel like you are an expert at? And maybe you're not more of an expert than anybody else, but like, what's something you're like, man, I do this pretty darn well. And then also like, what do your family and friends say that you do well? And it could be a sport. It could be a way that you encourage people. You could be a great, great at educating people, right? Or you could be good at, maybe playing guitar and educating. So maybe your content could be educating people on how to play the guitar. Maybe you're really good at movements at your gym. Maybe you're a CrossFitter and you're really good at movements at your gym. Okay, well then that's something that you can start educating people on that and teaching people how to do that. Excuse me, I'm going to get a quick sip of water. So again, like think about different character traits, different things that you do really, really well, and start to dial down like, what could I do? And then the next step, once you figure that out, find other people on social and on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook that also do something very similar. And that's like kind of the first step is find out the skills that you do well, and then find someone else that you can model. So I don't believe in kind of like reinventing the wheel or starting from scratch. You never start from scratch. If you're on the summit, you're not starting from scratch, because we're literally accelerating you through the process of going from I'm not really sure what to do to, hey, I feel pretty confident about this, right? And so using someone, modeling off others is one of the key ways in my entire business. And it's not stealing, right? It's modeling what they're doing, adding your own twist to it. So even when you're thinking about, and I'm just going to mention this before I go through the rest of these 5 keys for transitioning, but like even when you think about what time do I post, how often do I post, how should I structure my Instagram feeds? Find someone that's speaking to your same audience, right? Find someone that shares that kind of that same skill set, and look how they post. Look how often they post. Look at the time that they post. And so modeling others, don't give up on your skills that you have, right? Use the same skills that you have and then model others to create that account. The next thing is staying in your zone, guys. Staying in your zone and avoiding traps. We have a tendency to, especially as entrepreneurs, and I know people kind of hate that word, but entrepreneurs just basically means like we're taking our own life in our own hands and we're not going to work for somebody else. But staying in your zone is so important. I'm going to go through this 30 seconds, maybe a minute. But imagine a dartboard, okay? On the outside of the dartboard, you have your red, right? In the middle of the dartboard, there's the orange, and in the center, there's the green. The red things, think about all the things you do on a given day. The red on the outside are things that absolutely drain you, slow you down, don't make you any money, but you just still have to do. For me, that's taxes, right? Those are the things that you immediately want to stop doing, right? You want to eliminate those as much as possible. Maybe the things that just don't add any value to your life, eliminate those out right away. The second thing is the orange, right? We're getting closer into the center. The orange is the things that maybe you need to do, like you need to pay your bills, you need to do certain things, or maybe that's your current job that you have right now that you're like, The orange things, those are things that you can slowly start to either move out into the red or make some adjustments to them to put into your green zone. And the last thing is your green zone. This is your creative zone where you get the most done. And you want to find the ways. These are the things that fulfill you. They make you happy. You're excited to do them on a day-to-day. You want to try to get into that zone as much as possible. So when I say stay in your zone, avoid traps, we talked about this before, but focus on one thing. Be focused on one thing. Don't try to start 6 different businesses. Start focusing on one specific thing. Number 3, find a partner that is good, that shares the same passion or a similar passion that you have, but does the things that are all in your red zone, right? So we talked about the things that like absolutely drain you, but they must be done. And your orange zone, the things that drain you, but must be done, but don't make you any money. All those things that like maybe you're a creative, you come up with all the ideas. You want to find someone that's more of a structured, detail-oriented person that doesn't have a lot of ideas, but they can make things happen. So you want to find someone that you can partner with, a partner that you can partner with that actually can help you lift this thing up. So maybe you are, maybe you're a fitness instructor and you're a fitness coach. Maybe a good person to find is someone that maybe does social media and can do videos with you, and that's really good with editing videos. And you guys can work together to create awesome content. So again, number 3, find a partner. Number 4, start with the MVP. This is a kind of a fancy term we use, but it's called minimum viable product. So this basically means when you're visioning kind of your new business or your new side hustle social with your social media, think about minimum viable product. What's the simplest thing I can do right now to start getting closer to my results? So the simplest thing you can do right now, especially with your socials, if you're not posting, start posting. It doesn't need to be 70 posts. It's just 1 post a day or 1 post a week, right? So just do the first thing. Do the first step. You're nervous about doing collaborations or nervous about doing videos, just do a quick video on Instagram Live. If you don't like it, you can delete it afterwards, right? So minimum viable product. Don't try to create this whole strategy with 700 pages of notes and all this whole massive plan. Minimum viable product. Start with the simple things first. The last thing I'm going to say is, and this is kind of a proverb, but really seeking wise counsel. I know that's kind of like a crazy word, but what I mean by that is find people that have done what you want to do and follow them, right? So whether it's with your social media, all the people that are kind of distracting you on social media, I want you to move from a content consumer to a content creator. Start looking for people like I shared before that you would want to model and start following them. Start unfollowing the people that just distract you and make you just consume cat videos all day, right? But then other things like Andrew and I have this course that we're talking about. This is something that we've spent, combined over the last 10 years, combining all the content for this, and using that allows you to get to your end destination a lot faster. So you kind of, when you're starting from scratch and you don't have anybody else to help you, it can take years and years of mistakes and headache to get to a point where you could get, if you just worked with someone or you found someone, maybe you have a friend that's really good at social media, be like, hey, let's go hang out. Maybe buy them coffee and start to pick their brain. But seeking wise counsel is so important when it comes to really transitioning into this side hustle business. So guys, real quickly a recap. there's 5 things to remember is find out what you're best at, model others, stay in your zone, find a partner that can help partner with you and that doesn't have the exact same skill sets as you do, that you can partner together and create great synergy. Start with the MVP, start simple, and then lastly, seek wise counsel. So